event, I request our President, Shri Atul escort our dignitaries, Administrative Judge of Bombay High Court, Teacher Shri M. Sir, and Honorable Shri Justice S.B. Shukre, former Judge of Bombay High Court. Sapling to our today's chief guest, Shri M. Sir. Thank you, sir. Shri Justice Nitin Samre, sir. And present a sapling to Honorable Shri Justice Shukre, sir. While dealing with everyday cases in various courts, growing through everyday hustles and meeting up to judges' expectations and very long working hours, many of us are knowingly and unknowingly with whose efforts we are getting this opportunity to hear our today's speaker. I would
government leaders, assistant AGPs, learned assistant solicitors.
Justice Shukre, I think.
First to all the distinguished legal luminaries and judges who are here and also on the other side, not wanting to name everybody individually, and the other distinguished members of the legal fraternity who are in front of me, including the advocates and others. Let me start with a beautiful statement. I call it a statement. Some people call it a prayer from the Upanishads. It goes like this, embracing the whole of humanity. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkhapat bhavet. Also to add, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. This is the ancient teaching that we have inherited in this country, where every human being is looked at as a manifestation of the divine. This is something to bear in mind. Now luckily I don't have to introduce myself because already the distinguished judges have introduced me. But let me tell you, people must be sometimes thinking why I'm called Shri M. Why not use your own name? Well, it's like this. I was born with the name in my birth register. I haven't changed it even in my passport, as Mumtaz Ali Khan. After my high school, I dropped the Khan. Then, when I was initiated into the Nath Sampradaya by Maheshwar Nath Babaji, my guru, my friend, my father and mother, my guru, everything rolled into one. He gave me the name of Madhukar Nath. So in the Nath Sampradaya, you have to add a Nath, and he always called me Madhu. So, Madhukar Nath. Now that also, the first letter is M. Mumtaz also, first letter is M. But more than that, I love to be called M because M represents the first letter of the word Manushya. Or in Sanskrit, Manav in Hindi. So, when you say Shri M, it means I'm a human being like you. Once, Swami Vivekananda, suddenly in the middle of his speech, said, I'm a socialist. So somebody got worried because he's supposed to be Vedantin and a spiritual person. How can he say that I'm a socialist? He said the first reason is, he said jocularly, that half a loaf is better than none. And then he said, I follow what I call spiritual socialism, not me, Swami Vivekananda, I'm just quoting, which is that every soul, every human being, in fact every living being, I'm adding this, every human being is a manifestation of the divine, and in every human heart there is an amsha, or a small part of divinity, of the Supreme Being. Therefore, whatever be the outward appearances, whatever be the place we are born, what do you work, all these things, it remains that the divine spark is in all human beings, and therefore all are equal. And therefore, he said, I call this Vedantic socialism. Now, the subject, after great deliberation that has been given to me, is overcoming stress through spirituality. So here, I want to make a small distinction between just religious and spiritual. There are many people who are religious, that's fine. In this country, we have the freedom to practice any religion. But in every religion, there is a spiritual component. I think in all religions, there is a spiritual content, which is the essence from which everything is started. I'm coming to the subject. I'm just explaining the word spirituality because that's part of our talk today. If you go back to the origin of religions, except like in India, there are multiple sources, but in other religions also, which came from other parts of the world, the founder usually seems to be somebody who had a deep mystic experience, somewhere, sometime, in some way. And based on this spiritual experience which he had, he formulated a way of life, hoping that people would probably come to the root of the experience which he had gone through. Probably that is why. But there is a problem, which is that after a while, after the founder is gone, many years, the organization becomes more important than the essence. This is where the problems arise and the different clashes happen, because the essence of the truth has been completely covered up by the organizational and imperialistic designs. This is what happens. I want to tell you a story. I was also closely associated with Jiddu Krishnamurti for some years of my life. You will be surprised to know that Maheshwarnath Babaji told me, "Jao Krishnamurti ke paas jao, 4-5 saal reh ke aao." I was surprised because he is from a traditional Nath Sampradaya, and here is a man who said there is no path to truth and there is no need of a guru and so on. But I went and I knew why he sent me to him. I understood something which was not clear to me till then, especially about the Upanishad. And I want to tell you that I am now working on a book which is probably come out in a year, called The Upanishads and J. Krishnamurti. Now, why Upanishads first? Because they came earlier. Then Krishnamurti came later, so I put it that way. So anyway, why I said this is because Krishnamurti had a story which is very interesting. Once in a while he used to drop the story. The devil, the story is, as told by him, the devil and his very close friend went for a walk. So the devil's friend bent down and picked up something from the lawn and put it in his pocket. So the devil asked him, "What did you pick up just now?" So his friend said, "I just picked up the truth. Satya. Satyameva jayate." He picked up the truth. Now, devil's friend said, "If you have picked up the truth and put in your pocket, your days are numbered. Because you are the opposite of truth. You are untruth, you are darkness and so on and so forth. So you are finished if you picked up the truth." So the devil smiled tapped him on his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, friend, I'll organize it." So, even though the root of any religious moment comes from a deep experience of a mystical person, later on when it gets enmeshed in the organizational concerns, even the truth becomes adulterated. This is true. It's a fact. We can see it in everyday life. So, and therefore I want to make this distinction between not just religious but also spiritual. What is the difference? The thing is, all religions from the beginning of the world have said that their essence is spiritual. If you forget the essence and practice only the outward manifestations instead of going to the core, then you are a religious person, but you may not be a spiritual person. Because practicing the rituals and the outer shell of a religion is different from going to the core and finding out what the essence of the truth is being said. So we have to look at it very carefully. We can often be swayed by the other side, which sometimes supported by philosophy, sometimes supported by emotionalism. If we can keep this away and look at it in a pure way, then every religion becomes spiritual. Now, as far as the great tradition that we have in India, they have made it absolutely clear from the beginning that a spiritual person, because if you look back at the 5 darshanas, teachings of philosophy that we have, that even Charvakas who did not believe in God were appreciated. You will see in Ramayana, when Rama is about to go into Vanavas, a set of Charvakas come, Valmiki Ramayana. A set of Charvakas come and say, "Why are you going to the forest? What is the use?" He said, "I am keeping a promise." "What does it matter?" They said, "Why should you keep a promise?" He said, "Because that is the rule." There is no such rule. You say, enjoy, eat, drink and be merry. So, in ancient times also there were Charvakas. But, looking deeply into one's nature and finding out who I actually am, apart from who I think I am, and also what others think I am, is the essence of Indian spirituality. This is called Vedanta. Now, if you need to go into the depths of this, you need to go into this wonderful text that we have, maybe 2000 years ago, called the Upanishads. A little later, maybe the Bhagavad Gita. And of course, one text which is very difficult to read, called the Brahma Sutras, commented upon by Adi Shankara. Difficult. Now, the Bhagavad Gita, which comes in the middle of Prasthanatraya, which means the 3 parts of the curriculum for a spiritual understanding, according to ancient Indian sources, is the Bhagavad Gita. Now, this Bhagavad Gita is important because it is the essence of the Upanishads, the ancient teachings. At the same time, it's a practical way of looking at life. Not just philosophy and meditation and abstract things, but how to bring it into life. I mean, this is the subject which we need to discuss today. It's interesting because the Upanishad, the Bhagavad Gita itself, self-evident, that it suggests at the end of each chapter, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So this is the Bhagavad Gita, easy to understand. Upanishad, it is the wisdom of the Upanishad. Brahma Vidyayam. What does the Upanishad teach? Brahma Vidya, knowledge of the Supreme Being. And then Yoga Shastra and Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvad. Very important points to be noted from the Bhagavad Gita. 1. It's preached in the middle of a battlefield, not in an hermitage in the forest. So it's a practical guide to all of us who are in the middle of a battlefield. Almost, I don't have to say this to the legal fraternity, you are in the middle of a battlefield. Something may be true or may not be true, but the arguments sometimes that are set forth may be to support that which is untrue, and it is for the honorable judges to decide what is true. In the same way, in the middle of action, in the middle of life, the battle of life, let's say, not just Kurukshetra, we have to decide how to move forward, how to keep the mind at peace, how to remain centered in one's true self and at the same time perform. I am standing here today, I am not a sannyasi. I am not a monk. I am a married man myself. I have 2 kids who are also now married. I have lived through my family life, Grahastha Jeevitam. And yet I have been able, the only proof is if you can prove it yourself, right? Even if others believe or not, that in the midst of all activity, it is possible to remain centered in the spiritual essence of one's being, where there is zero stress. In the essence of our being, if you can learn how to touch that, even a little bit, you touch a field where there is absolute peace, and when there is absolute peace, there is no stress. It's not that you can work, but you need not be stressed out. In fact, there is no way to live in this world without doing some work or the other. The Bhagavad Gita says that very beautifully by saying that even when you sleep, your brain is working, your mind is working, you may be resting. So in this world, there is no way to live without karma yoga. But if we live with the understanding that deep inside us there is an essence which is completely peaceful, tranquil, and which by its very essence is called Satchidananda, which means Ananda is a word used for happiness, for bliss. Extended bliss, extended happiness can be defined as bliss. If you understand this and lead your life, I am sure that one can handle all the stresses of life. Look, let me tell you my example before going a little more into the Gita. In the Gita you find that the first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, which is the chapter of Arjuna's stress, Arjuna's sorrow, Arjuna's indecisiveness. He doesn't know what to do. And then from there Krishna weaves, or Vyasa weaves, this beautiful story of the Bhagavad Gita, where finally Arjuna understands. And the teaching is not run away from this. Stay there, pick up your bow, move forward, not run away. Right? Although sometimes moving out of a situation to think about and find out a solution can sometimes be looked as surrender. No. One of the popular names in Gujarat for Sri Krishna is Ranchod, one who left the field. But then he left the field for guerrilla warfare, to think what to do next. Because every human being needs a certain amount of peace and tranquility to be able to function in this world, in this stressful world. Now this I don't have to explain to the law fraternity. Every day you are faced, if not your problem, people who come to you, the litigants, who are always in a constant state of stress. How you handle it is an important thing. I think that if I don't know how to become tranquil, to use the words of the Gita, Sarvatra Samabuddhaya. That means keeping tranquil in the midst of all disturbances. Not once. When I sit down to meditate for half an hour, I can be tranquil. Does the same tranquility occur when I come out and face the world? So this is important. So this way of developing a situation, developing a state of mind which is tranquil under all circumstances is the major teaching which the Gita gives, the Vedanta gives, the ancient teachings of India also present here. Now, I am a person who believes that even a person who does not belong to some particular religion can read the Gita and get a lot of information from it on how to live your life. provided you agree that it has to be centered on your true self, which by its very nature is blissful. To understand this and how to go forward is called sadhana. Figure, the image, the blueprint that we have discussed now is the first chapter of Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. The next chapter is called Sadhana Pada, how to get there. While we understand all this, is there some way by which we can bring about a state of tranquility and peace in our minds? Is there a practice? Is there some way of doing it? Now the subject is vast. In this lecture we may not be able to go into it completely. But let me start with a few facts. Let me start with the teachings of a person who I think was a yogi, who wandered alone in the streets of Jerusalem, who said that I have no place to lay my head. The foxes have holes, and the snakes have holes, and the foxes have dens. Son of Man knows not where to lay his head. You know who it is. One thing he said, very important, which is so closely related to Vedanta. Lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. I don't think anybody can make it so clear and so concise in this way that it's a well-edited book. So whatever be its faults, if you like to say, but the New Testament. Lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. Another, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Right, let me start with that. When let's go to the teaching of the Buddhists, where Buddha believed that nirvana is the complete settling of all disappointments, all troubles, of all worries, when the mind becomes absolute, when everything is snuffed out and there is only the peaceful feeling of the mind. Of course, Buddha did not discuss God as such, but he did discuss peace. Today, the popular thing which many people are doing, the practice of vipassana, comes from the original teachings of the Buddha. Okay, so we'll get into that slowly. Now, as far as the ancient Indian source, the fountainhead of philosophy is concerned, it's a well understood fact that when one goes within and finds out that when the mind is absolutely quiet, that's why I wanted to add, like Justice Shukre said, that it's not just spirituality, but also meditation. Because meditation is the essence of the spiritual life. You can talk a lot of theory on spirituality, but if you don't personally meditate, then you cannot touch what they're trying to express as far as the spiritual teachings are concerned. So therefore, the idea is that one needs to learn how to meditate every day. When I say meditation, recently I was in Delhi, since I am in the law fraternity, in a conference in Delhi, and the person sitting next to me was the CJI, Justice Chandrachud, Honorable Justice Chandrachud. So we were talking. He said, one book of yours I'm very fond of. I said, which one, sir? He said, on meditation. He said, I always ask the legal fraternity to read this book. Of course, I was joking, and he told me I am your fan, and I said, I have to tell you my wife is your fan. Anyway, that's a different story. So, what I'm trying to say is this meditation, it is not as if meditation is meant only for sannyasis or renunciants or people who have retired. It's meant for every human being, and it's very simple. And you can say that there are ways to meditate without any denominations whatsoever. This is the message that has come to us from the Indian source of philosophy and spirituality. Now the word used for meditation is dhyana. Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is dharana, dhyana and samadhi. When you say samadhi, it means a state of mind, not a samadhi that is built when somebody dies. Not that samadhi. The samadhi here means that the dhi or the mind, thought, becomes sama, equal, means peaceful and tranquil. Now this can be brought about through practicing something, whether you believe the theory or you don't believe the theory. The proof of the pudding is in the eating it. So, if one decides, okay, I want to be free of stress, I'm not running away from my job, I will do my job perfectly, clearly, without mistakes as much as I can, and at the same time, how can I do this because it is so stressful? Then I think the best choice is some form of meditation or prayer or whatever you want to do. I've seen one good thing in some of our citizens all over the world. There are people who in the midst of all activity will not forget the time when they have to pray. This is something positive that we need to pick up. Here in India we have so much freedom in the Hindu system that we say, no, if we meditate a little bit it is enough, and we don't do that also. Because we are so free. It's good to be free, but sometimes it's good to bring the mind under some kind of control yourself. It need not be from outside imposed. So I am going to tell you something related to meditation, which is also related to pranayama, which can bring about a state of mind where if you can go into once a day at least, before you start your day, you'll be able to handle the rest of your day beautifully and with complete attention and without getting depressed about it. And this is, one, the science of pranayama, and two, that pranayama linked to meditation. Now, when you say meditation, dhyana, people have this wrong impression. I am going to do dhyana. You cannot do dhyana. You can only do dharana. When dharana becomes continuous and effortless, then it automatically becomes dhyana. If I say I am going to do dhyana, it's not going to work because you cannot. What is the meaning of dharana? One pointed attention. Most difficult thing to achieve, one pointed attention. The moment I say I am attending, the mind automatically goes somewhere else. It is the quality of the mind to skip. So how do I bring it? Now, we have a technique. Not me, I mean, we have a technique. It is free, don't worry. It is that the human being, what is the most important nutrient of the human body? And mind, of course. Of course, there is food. But you can do without food for 5 days. People fast, they don't die. You can also do without water for some days. Many people do that kind of vrida also. I don't drink. Okay. But one cannot live without breath for 1 minute. So breath, which brings oxygen into the body, is the most important nutrient that the human being has. Breathing, air, vayu, prana, life energy. All this is so important, yet we give very little attention to the breath. Very little. In fact, many of us don't know how to breathe by now, properly. We do surface breathing, or we do the breathing used by bodybuilders. That means take your breath up to the lungs and reduce your tummy and so on. In fact, the real pranayama is that the air should also be allowed to go to the abdomen. The abdomen never increases because air is pushed in. In fact, don't worry, in fact, the abdominal muscles become stronger. Anyway, so this breath is so important, and yet we don't give any attention to it. If we knew how important breath was, we would avoid pollution in the outside world. You know how pollution is increasing. Why? Because we are not regarding breath as so important. We're breathing in all the automobile exhaust into our system. Well, that is a different thing. We need to change it in a different way. But let me come to this point of how to use pranayama as a meditation tool. In many other disciplines or many other teachings, it is also called breath work, working on the breath. Damadam masta kalandar. Breath upon breath. Now, the pranayama that I am going to speak of has very two logical bases. One is that if you are agitated, for instance, very agitated, just close your eyes and look at your breath. You will find that your breath also is very erratic and agitated. When you are calm and quiet, listening to music or something that you really love to do, close your eyes and watch your breath. It's very calm and quiet and not erratic. So the rishis, who were scientists in those days, decided that if your mood is reflected in your breath, is it possible to change your mood through manipulating the breath? So how do you do that? You notice that when the breath is calm, the mind is calm, not stressed out. And when your breath is agitated, the mind is agitated. So how do we cool down this breathing? Because it's difficult almost to stop the mind from agitation. But you can. There is one thing which is part of your voluntary system and involuntary system. Breath circulation of blood, you cannot have any control over. Right? You have no control over. Digestion, we can only eat. We don't have any more control over it. Excretion, we can only control, but we will have to excrete. It's automatic, autonomous. But there is one thing which is autonomous, but at the same time can also be made voluntary. That is the breath. You don't say breathe. When the child is born, it starts breathing. And when the breath stops, you're dead. You can do nothing about it. In Gujarat, they say off ho gaya, so finished, it's over and done. When the breath has stopped. We have no control. Normally we have no control. But we can also control it. That's the only thing, function in the body we can also control, breath. So, the yogis invented a way by which you can calm your breath. And if you calm your breath, your mind is calmed. In the midst of stress, disappear into a small room. Stabilize your breath and come back. You will see the difference. And how do we stabilize it? Very simple. That thing to which you don't give any attention at all, for a change, give attention. Which means watch your breath. Go back into your breath, movement of your breath. Close your eyes and watch your breath coming in, going out, coming in, going out. Very soon you will find that the breath has calmed down. All it needs is attention. When the breath has calmed down, your mind is also calmed down. Now what happens when your mind is calmed down? Your decisions are right. You're not stressed out, so you're thinking properly. You can think in a very constructive way. Even people who are destructive can use this. We won't go into that. Because one-pointed attention is a two-edged weapon. It can be used this way or that way. It depends on your moral upbringing. So, this is a method. And we call this in our parampara the hum saw technique. Which means, sit down quietly in a place. You can also sit in a chair, there is no harm, but wear comfortable clothes. Give complete attention to your breath. As you breathe in, give attention to the breath and chant the sound of hum. Hum, of course, when you are breathing, you can't chant mentally, in your mind. So the in-breath is hum. I decided that since I am talking to a very practical fraternity, who decides on practical things in his world, I must not go without giving you something simple that you can practice. in the midst of all your stresses. So, watch your breath as you breathe in. Chant hum. You may or may not hold it. You can also immediately exhale. As you exhale, chant sa. So in breath is hum, out breath is sa. In some disciplines they say so hum. Doesn't matter. Chant in so, chant out hum. Stay there for some time, watching your breath carefully and chanting from. Don't control your breath in any way. Just let it be normal. Now this is something which you will discover if you do it yourself. Within 5 minutes, your breath would have become absolutely quiet. Breathing is going on, but it's going on very, very soft. Then turn and look at your mind. You know why? Because the mind, like nature, abhors a vacuum. The mind does not like a thoughtless stage. Many people say, in meditation I want to make my mind thoughtless. Not possible. The mind will not allow you to do it. So the only way to distract the mind from outward agitation is to bring it to give attention to something that's happening inside. And what is happening inside constantly for us is the breathing. So for a change, shift your attention from the outside world to your breath. And as you do that, many unnecessary thoughts subside. You're only watching your breath. Everything becomes concentrated. When the prana becomes concentrated, your mind becomes tranquil. Now a tranquil mind is also a sharp mind. It's not a dull mind. Please distinguish between dullness and tranquility. These are two things. A tranquil mind is a sharp, active mind, but at the same time something which is quiet and tranquil. A tranquil mind can bring about something to happen in this world simply by thinking about it carefully, without making too much noise. This is what we have figured out through our practice, through the teaching which we have, and I think it's a common factor for everyone, no matter what your belief system is, no matter what religion you come from. Simply figure this out, that ultimately it all depends on your mind. And to increase the energy of your mind and stay through the distractions of this world is to fix your attention on your breath and then slowly allow your mind to become tranquil. Then you reach that which is called sarvatra samabuddhaya. Under all conditions, situations, your mind is calm. In the beginning, it's calm only for 10 minutes when you practice. But as you go on, you learn how to maintain it throughout your life. Of course, in between there may be situations where there is a break in it, but come back to it. There's no doubt about that. Because we are trying to bring about a habit of the mind which is not normal. So it takes time, practice. So this is what I wanted to talk about today, that we can remain tranquil, quiet and peaceful in the midst of all the activities and all the things that we do in this world. And we really need that little corner in our lives, somewhere, so that we can just sit under a tree or even sit in your room, close your eyes, settle down, and then go and do your work. Running away from work is not a solution. Running away from a situation is not a solution. The solution is how to acquire the capacity to handle it. This is the teaching which has come to us more than 2000 years ago. And this is what sustains many great yogis who have lived in this world. Let me, before ending this talk, give you an example. Swami Vivekananda lived only till the age of 41 or 42. In this short period of time, he did work which 100 people could not have done for 100 years. Where did this energy come from? All the energy and capacity to handle life lies inside you. Thing is, can we find it inside us? Go deep within and realize that this is possible. This thought remains. I think you can go about doing all the work that you do in this world. The Ishavasya Upanishad has a beautiful statement. Jiji Visheta Satam Samaha. For 100 years you can work in this world. Na karma lipyate nare, without allowing the effects of karma to touch you. I think this is possible. I am 75 years old now, and my mind is probably 18 years old. Is there any secret to it? The only secret is that you find your happiness within when your mind is tranquil. And therefore you act from there. And if you are inside totally satisfied with the inner, you wouldn't be jealous of anybody else. People are still striving. Here you have touched it. So if it can happen to me, fighting through all the circumstances, for instance, in this world of coming from one denomination, fighting, moving towards another, and then realizing, okay, it's fine. If I can do that, you can. I don't think that there is any human being who cannot do that. Well, it takes time. That depends on various factors. Some people may do it fast. From here, some people may go home and in 10 minutes get what I'm trying to. Some may take some more time to realize what's going on. That depends on various factors about which we can't say anything. So thank you very much for listening attentively to what I wanted to say. Om Shanti Shanti.
देश विदेशातील प्रत्येक घडामोडींचे लाईव्ह अपडेट मिळवण्यासाठी आता साम टीव्हीच्या सर्व सोशल मीडिया प्लॅटफॉर्मला लाईक, फॉलो आणि सबस्क्राईब करा. तसंच सर्व नोटिफिकेशनसाठी बेल आयकॉन प्रेस करायला विसरू नका.